once again, Mark Blaggett is not here, but he'll get here before we finish this. Mark bought these twin buildings that are in what is referred to as Walsh Place. You can live your whole life in the North End and never know where Walsh Place is. If you were on Clark Street with St. Stephen's Church to your left and recross on the corner, and you walk down, like it's about 3 buildings or so, it's very small, you can't even refer to it as an alleyway opening because it's only 1 story high, it's covered by the building above, and it can't be more than 4 feet wide. And you walk through the buildings and you come into a courtyard, which is called Walsh Place, or in this instance, 17 rear Clark Street. These buildings, I don't believe they were fully occupied, they were partially occupied. There were 3 buildings altogether that were owned by a family, involved in some internal litigation to split up the buildings. They sold one not too long ago on the front side of this on Clark Street, and Mark bought these 2 more recently in the back. In renovating these, Mark is using those newer HVAC units that have these condensers that are approximately 36 inches high by 36 inches wide by about 1 foot deep. And they have the wall units like that, smaller in apartments that are fed by the condensers. There's a section of the code that is the violation here, which talks about the reconfiguration of rooftops. Originally, it was the result of most rooftops have what they call a head house. It looks like a little jet out on the top where the staircase comes up to go up to the roof. And what was happening was people were expanding those, and what used to be, relatively small, maybe a 6 by 8 foot addition on the roof was becoming larger and larger. So in this section, Article 5418, it's not only any addition to a roof, but it's also a reconfiguration of a roof. So when you put things on there or you change locations of things on your roof, you potentially get this violation. After I tell you all this, I'm also going to tell you that the Commissioner is about to remove these condensers from this section, but it hasn't been done yet, so we're going through this. So in using the condensers, the city codes, etc., allow for them to be on the ground. There is no area on the ground here in Walsh Place for these to be located without being an intrusion for fire protection, egress, or anything of that sort. So they have to be somewhere other than. So the 2 possible locations are on the sides of the building or on the roof of the building. And there's only one side of this building, which is the face of the building, where they can be located, because if you put them on the outside of the building, they're not supposed to overhang somebody else's property line. So they're joined in the middle, attached to another building. There are buildings in Webster Place, on the other side where the lot line is right against the building. And the Hanover Street building lot line is right against the building. So the only area that belongs to this building would be the face of the building, would be much uglier on the face of the building, number one. Plus it would put it much closer to the back windows of the buildings on Clark Street. So if you look at that plan, what we're proposing in conjunction with the building department is those, in this drawing that's my left, those little black rectangles, the condensers. And if you look at the top of the page, this would be Walsh Place, and on the other side of Walsh Place, on the back windows of buildings, 2 buildings on Clark Street. So that location, the location that we're using, is the furthest distance from any abutting property, meaning if we located them in other places, in this back of the building is, as I say, the lot line is right against our back wall, and the closest buildings are those lines that you see right next to it that are basically almost touching the building a couple of feet apart from it. Excuse me. And then the buildings on Hanover Street are on this side. We tried different configurations of putting them in different places, but again, this is the furthest, so the distance between where they are and the face wall of the buildings on Clark Street is about, I believe it's about 24 or 28 feet, meaning the distance of Walsh Place is maybe 14 feet, 15 feet, and the distance on the roof is 12 to 14 feet where those are. So that's the furthest distance from those buildings. If they weren't on the roof, they would be on this face wall right here, which would make them 12 to 14 feet closer to those buildings. We had one request by two residents of those buildings if we could put lattice work or some other type of disguise in front of them, which we agreed we would do. Likely, these two areas are private roof decks, so we'd likely have something built in front of these that matches the railings of the roof deck so that it blends in, and when you when you look out your windows from across, it'll look like it's all decking. And as I say, these items are only 36 inches wide by 36 inches high. They're not very big to begin with, but if you had the railing in front of it, your eyes will be drawn. And the deck is also a foot up off the roof, so only the tops of these will be viewable, over the deck. That's the only place they're seen. They can't be seen from the buildings on the other sides because of the way they're located. And as I said, the kicker to the story is we don't have a ZBA hearing, but by the time we have it, if the commissioner's bulletin comes out, it's going to include certain of these HVAC units that are below a certain size, and we're included in that. So we may not be going to the ZBA, but if we do, that's why we're here. So we need the exemption from 5418 for that.
Construction hasn't started yet?
All the buildings are done.
The building's finished, yeah. It's
Yeah.
on the market already for sale.
Three of them are under agreement.
Yeah, for sale already, yeah, that's right.
But they don't have an occupancy permit because he can't install this.
Yeah, no, installed already?
No.
He hasn't had the air conditioning pipes run up there, nothing?
Well, the pipe work may be in, but the units are not.
So if for whatever reason it's denied, what are your options?
To put them on the face of the building,
Even though it's going to be
closer.
closer?
Yeah.
I think it's a technicality of the ordinary. They put all the air conditioning units on roofs on all buildings in the city right now.
Yeah, as I said, you get caught up in what is a good intention of the section, meaning, it was, when people, as I say, were taking rather small head houses, et cetera, and expanding them, and there was no review of that, so that language is a catch-all. When it says, this is an interpretation, that's why it could be the subject of the bulletin, this is an interpretation of the Inspection Services Department, that even if you put one of these, just one of these things on the roof, you'd have the same violation.
And when did they figure this out in the project? What time in the project did they figure this out?
Well, they were planning on putting them down below. They were told that if you used anything in the front, even if you covered it, it would be an egress issue. So they said you couldn't do that. So originally they were planning on the ground. Then they had to remove them from the ground because the only place on the ground that they had was directly in front in Walsh Place. And they said, no, you can't, you're interfering with egress by having them there, so you have to either place it on the face of the building or on the roof.
Anyone else on the council? In the audience, questions?
Oh, John, we had a butters meeting last Monday at 6:30. We had two butters present, basically in the real estate agent.
Yep.
So we're-
We have two letters from other abutters, and one of the abutters behind us in Webster Place is indicating I can represent Mr. Bonapane, that he's in favor of it, but he chose not to write a letter. So we have letters from one abutter on Clark, one on Hanover, we're supposed to get a third one on Hanover Street, and Mr. Party in the back.
Let me ask you another question, Bill. These units do heat and air conditioning?
Yes.
So it obviously needed.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I missed it, was there any opposition at all?
No,
None. Okay.
Can we try and get like larger plans to the next meeting so that they're a little bit easier to?
We're aging, Bill. We're all waiting back.
Yeah, the difficulty
When we can.
with large places, we have them reduce them so that we
Right.
can use them for handouts.
I mean, it's, yeah.
I think the
even if-
next time they come in like this,
Andy,
I'm not
can we
going
get
to.
Can we ever
you
get?
can't read.
Too small.
This is an insult. Thank God I know the place, but you can't even read it.
And did these folks come up before the council for the,
We made them, oh, we didn't bring the large ones tonight. Well, we can bring, there's no problem bringing them.
Real
The
system.
problem with large places, you can't hand them out, you have one set usually you could use, so.
But it would help to put them on an easel, just to see, you know?
You ever hear these folks?
When was the work done for the building prior, or the renovations?
It's been going on for the past year.
Did you hear it come in front of the council?
No, as of right.
Why not?
He didn't change the number of units or anything like that, so he just, it was,
A simple
it's
renovation?
6 units, 3 and 3, renovated. You can tell from, if you look in Enzo's office, very nicely done.
Oh, I got the flag.
Selling big numbers too.
It's a nice little alley.
Well, it wasn't before. You know, he's,
No, I saw it
He's
before, I
bricked
saw
it.
it about a year and a half ago.
yeah, he's bricked it, yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, it was nice, yeah.
Unless there's any more questions, we could vote on this? Okay, great. Just write your name, please. Support or oppose, and then pass them down to me and fill out.